Hi there. Welcome to another one of my Own Your Expertise interviews. I'm Emily Crookston, owner and decider of all things at the Pocket PhD. I'm the ghostwriter for Rebels, Renegades, and Mavericks, and I love helping experts with big ideas get those ideas out of their heads and into the hands of their fans. Today, I'm sitting down with Katrijn van Oudhenson. I'm sure I murdered that name. Katryn is the co-founder of MyndLeap, which specializes in helping individuals and organizations create more freedom and openness. And this gives them the opportunity to overcome old limitations and create room for new options. Katryn, thank you so much for joining me. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about who you work with and what you do?
Thank you so much for having me. Right, so yeah, I work with mindset. That's how I call it. I teach methods and tools for individuals and organizations to make their mindset visible, to figure out what it is and what its contents are, and then how you can actually question and develop your mindset. So really tools and practical ways of working with this very abstract concept of mindset.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about your process. How do you get them to sort of step back and look at their own minds?
Yeah, so there are various phases, and a lot of it is figuring out what we're talking about. So the level, and for me,
Mm,
that's the level of beliefs.
mhm.
So between our abstract values and needs that we all share as human beings and our concrete behavior, the things we do and say, are beliefs. And some of these are helpful and some of these are not so helpful and are limiting. And as soon as we figure out that level and we find access to it, and one of the things that's really easy entry point to the whole mindset thing is to figure out what it is that you don't like,
Mm,
right? And behind these statements, for example, if I would ask you, how would your ideal day go?
mhm.
And what shouldn't happen during your day.
Uh,
And then maybe you'd come up with a few things, like that and that shouldn't happen because I don't like that. Behind these judgments are your beliefs.
How does knowing my beliefs help me?
Yeah, so these beliefs we learned at some point, or some of them we gathered from society. They were part of our schooling. If you're a human being on this planet, you've learned beliefs. But many of these were learned at a very early age or in situations that didn't, well, they're never the truth, right? They're always a filter and maybe true in a specific situation. So now our current mindset includes yours, mine, many beliefs that are dated or are simply not helpful anymore.
Mm.
So getting to know these and being able to question them widens our mind.
Yeah, I think of it in terms of expressive writing. You write down whatever's in your brain, and if you just keep writing, you'll get to those
Mhm.
deep-seated core beliefs, right? And then when they're on the paper and you can look at them, it's so much easier to sort of have that distance to say, oh, do I really believe that? Do I really want to hold on to that belief? What's it doing for me? How's it serving me?
I've noticed that there are different entry points for different people. Some people
Ah,
like to write, some people like to experience with their bodies. So
yeah.
we don't just do this work with individuals, we do it in teams and organizations as well.
Uh-huh.
Um, and even there, we have teamwork, body work in teams, so
Mm.
exercises that help teams experience their mindset. We create a whole atmosphere, so it's a
Ah,
meditative, individual
yeah.
but collective experience.
Oh, super interesting. Oh, that sounds so cool. I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that. That's nice. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, to be honest, we're very proud of this. But for me, it's really my goal is, to spread this into the world and especially in organizations, because in organizations, the collective beliefs, the ones that we
Mhm,
share, determine the culture,
mhm, mhm.
right? And so now there's all this talk about, okay, you need a growth mindset, or we need an agile mindset, or a leadership mindset, or whatever it is, but we
Yeah.
need something. But nobody knows how to get there.
Right. Right, right.
We just know it's needed. And that's what
Yeah,
I love doing, figuring
yeah,
out ways,
yeah.
to help people do this development stuff.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I've been reading a lot about action bias, right? A lot
Yeah.
of leaders like, here's a problem, we need a solution, and they go straight to the solution without really digging into the problem. And I think what's interesting about what you're doing is you're digging into the problem. Like, let's figure out how to give them this mindset that we want them to have, or how to get them to develop their own mindsets in the ways.
And we try to be very, very clear on the fact that we want to teach everyone for themselves as individuals these tools. So you can decide, and you should decide for yourself, what is limiting to you? What do you want to question? Where do you want to go? It's much more interesting, I think, and helpful for organizations as well to teach people to what I call mindset plasticity. So to gain the skill of constantly questioning and adapting your mindset as you see fit.
It's so much more robust, and it's so much more helpful in the future if you can train people to do it for themselves rather than, you know, trying to give something to them, right? Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about your beliefs. So I always like to ask this question to all my interviewees: what's your die in a ditch belief? So it's a belief that something that you maybe have thought long and hard about, something you'd be willing to defend if you were pressed. So Katryn, tell me, what's your die in a ditch belief?
There is no correct mindset, and we don't really need a mindset. So no matter what our thoughts are, no matter what our set of beliefs is, which is how I define mindset, it's always going to be limiting you in some way, even if it's in a positive way. It limits your options, right? This is the correct thing to do. It's a judgment. This is the right thing to think. These are good beliefs, which automatically excludes X other beliefs.
So what is the goal then, if there's no correct set of beliefs that we're trying to inculcate?
Well, ultimately, the goal is to discover that we as human beings have the capability of acting and being beyond mindset. So we're more than just the thoughts and the beliefs in our head.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
The key part that gives us freedom is the beliefs that are judgmental. So I mean, there are lots of thoughts that we have that are just, you know, here's how I do the washing. This is how I write.
Right.
You know, these are helpful beliefs. They help us be in the world, as you just said. So what we're mainly discovering is that you can be in the world and function exceedingly well, even better, without putting everything into these categories. So without the judgment filter.
Right. Very cool. Yeah. So how have you learned to translate your expertise for others?
So for me, the easiest way is to have people guide people through the experience, to really see, you know, like in the work of Byron Katie, I don't know if you've seen that before. She guides people through, you know, here's your belief, and then let's question it, and who are you without this belief, and let's turn it around. And that's a process. When you experience that for yourself, you really get these wow moments. So I've developed a method that a team as a group discusses or figures out what their limiting beliefs are, and then as a group questions them, and they have this shared aha moment.
Oh, yes.
So this is the ideal way for me to talk about mindset, because people experience it, and I don't need all these, you know, explanations and stuff like that.
You know, we don't have a lot of words because words involve these limited beliefs, right? They involve putting yourself into that box. So yeah, it makes, makes good sense.
It's kind of a catch-22
right.
for mindset, right? Because as soon as you talk about it, you're talking in beliefs.
Right.
Let's talk about not being, you know, stuck in beliefs. It's kind of difficult.
Right. It's more of an experience. You have to experience it. You can't talk about it. Yeah, that's amazing. I love your work. It's so fascinating to me. It's very cool. Well, Katryn, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I could talk to you all day. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find out more information about you?
Yeah, so the company I co-founded and that I do this work with is called MyndLeap. And because we wanted to focus on my mind, you know, it's about me and self-reflection and awareness, we spelled it with a Y. So it's myndleap.com.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Emily, for inviting me and for having this conversation.